Good afternoon and welcome. I would like to call to order. What I also want to say too is for the public that are viewing us, we are in the separated bubbles. So if you see some of us speaking without masks on, we just want to let the public know that we are observing all the proper safety protocols. And so if we're talking without a mask, that's because we're inside of our little bubbles here, which the library has so graciously provided for us. I want to call to order our meeting of the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees. It's Saturday, March the 20th, 2021. What time is it now? 2:17. Mr. Turner, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Rashid.
Present.
Mr. Mays.
Here.
Ms. Shahid.
Here.
Ms. Sharpley.
Here.
Mr. Silvera.
Here.
Dr. Harris.
Let the record reflect that she called and said she would be unable to attend.
Ms. McDonald.
Let the record reflect she is unable to attend.
We have 5 present.
So we have a quorum. Next item on our agenda is our finally, I guess we can sing together today. Lift every voice and sing. Mr. Mays, would you please lead us? Y'all want to stand? Okay.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song of love that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Move on to the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. It's been motioned and second. Mr. Turner, is there any discussion at all? Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid.
Yes.
Mr. Mays.
Yay.
Ms. Shahid. Ms. Sharpley.
Yes.
Mr. Silvera.
Yes.
5 yeses.
5 yeses, the motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the regular board meetings from January 23rd, 2021. Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of January 23rd, 2021.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Having been motioned and second, is there any discussion?
The minutes. I had some discussion on here. Director.
You have to speak up, Mr. Mays.
Oh, it has been taken care of. I had down in reference to the dates and things of that nature. It was in the second set of minutes. So
Okay.
yes, that has been corrected. So thank you for seeing that the dates and what have you is put on the ordinance, resolution that we passed
the date they were passed and the date they were signed. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
5 yeses.
5 yeses, the motion for the approval of the regular board meetings from January 23rd, 2021 has passed. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular board meetings from February 18th, 2021. Do I hear a motion?
There were included some errors here that was corrected with the page here. I don't think anyone noticed that. There was corrections made from that meeting. Mr. Turner, you passed out corrections?
To you. If you could go over those, the corrections, the pages.
So the corrections is acceptable.
They are.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from February 18th, 2021.
Okay, member Carol Shahid has made the motion. Is there a second on the floor?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
With the amended and whatever corrections you found. You made a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have on page 10,
What page?
10, page 10. Cocktail, have you received the information from Mr. Flood or Mr. Cooper? But I'll retract that because of the fact that we have met with the person whom we are, I guess, negotiating with in reference to the marquee. So I'll retract that. I did see it has been met, so I'll just retract that. I have one other problem. There was I had some concerns in reference to, but I think in reading further on, I found out in reference to the finance problem report, have the problem been solved in the finance? That you had some problems in reference to differences of, there was some differences in reference to, I think, the final amount that was different from something of what I think you rectified that and found that out. So I'll just leave that alone.
There are no problems, Mr. Mays. I don't know what you're specifically referring to.
On page 8, that you indicated, let's go to page 8. Balance as of 12/31/2020 is $1,181,156. Changes from $1,156,000 to $524,000 from $13.13. A difference of $24,631.87. The error came about from an adjustment in property taxes revenue in the month of September, which is that did not need to be made. The adjustment created the interest for January in the system, but not posted pending the.
So are your concerns the accuracy of
I
reflection
think
of the
you said it
minutes?
has been corrected.
But that's a finance matter. That I don't
I
understand.
mean, that was the problem that you indicated, but I think you have rectified that situation.
Yes,
Okay.
Let's address that in finance. What we're talking about here is the approval of these minutes and whether they're accurately reflected.
I mean, it's in the minutes.
And I'm saying,
I was just asking them, had that been corrected, but I did read further that it had been corrected. If you recall that.
okay, well, the motion on the floor is to accept the minutes for the minutes of February 18th, 2021. Was that?
It has been rectified. I read it in some other places.
Okay, it's been
I
motion
had-
and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yeah.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera.
Yes.
I have 5 yeses for the amended minutes.
5 yeses, the regular board meeting minutes from 2/18/2021 has been approved. Next item on the agenda is communications.
Yes, Mr. President, we have 4 communications that went out from the board or the director. The first one is in support. I'm not going to read all the communications, I'll just paraphrase. The first one went out to State Representative Stephanie Howes, District 11, encouraging them to support the current funding levels of 1.7% for the public library fund, and also shared information about East Cleveland Public Library of what we're doing the pandemic. We also shared our year-end review, so the General Assembly can get an understanding of what we did last year. Also, the same draft letter was sent out to Senator Yuko, Senator District 25, same letter, same information. There was also communications that went out from the director to Trona Davis. She gave us a nice Christmas card and a gift of $5, which will go to the library's general fund. There was also a donation from Tracy E. Bush, Bound to Heaven Publishing Ministries. He donated books to the East Cleveland Public Library's print collection. There was a 5th communications that was a mistake. Please pull that out. It was dated February 26, 2018. It should not be part of the package. That concludes communications.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one more communication.
Yes, sir. Please, Mr.
Spoke with
Severa.
Councilman Maybe Martin this morning, and he wanted me to reiterate to the board the city council's sincere appreciation for hosting the special board meeting this past week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any further comments or information regarding any other communications to the board? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the president's report. And I just wanted to take a brief moment to just share my thoughts about the Ohio Library Council's meeting, the library trustee workshop that I attended on March 6, 2021 with, I guess, several other members of the board. And I found it very enlightening, well worth the time that we spent. And just a couple of things that I thought about as I listened to it. It was about key board responsibilities. And that I took special note of what they had said in there, and that to make sure the board's responsibility is to make sure that things get done, not to do those things. Because we have a very highly competent professional staff who we've set expectations for, and we follow up on those expectations and we hold management accountable. And I think that that is our proper role, and not to interfere and to dabble in the day-to-day operations of the library. But the other thing that I thought was really of interest was the part about the trustees' most frequently asked legal questions. They actually provided a volume of work on the Sunshine Law and the caution that we need to take as we interact among ourselves as board members, and understanding that emails, texts, phone calls among a certain number of us would actually constitute a meeting. And so we have to be very careful when we begin to converse with one another to make sure that we are not violating that law, because there are cases where people have violated that law and it has been extremely costly to the organizations that they serve. And also as a public official, you are expected to actually legally follow these rules and regulations. So I want to have, for those who would like to have a copy of the document that kind of outlines that information, I'll make sure that Mr. Turner, he's going to provide you with a copy of it, actually downloaded it from the site. And a lot of the documentation that was offered to us in slide presentation is still available on the site. I don't have in front of me the exact way that you access those documents, but I know that if you contacted the Ohio Library Council or Mr. Turner may be able to get you a copy of it. But I thought it was well worth the reading, and it was well executed by the legal staff that was there. They asked a lot of different questions, some I had just never even thought about as being actually a public official, because being on the library board, at the time that we are actually public officials, and from a legal perspective, as being that you're held to certain rules and regulations. So that was pretty much what I had today for my president's report, but I'm willing to take any questions if there are any.
Not a question, Mr. Chairman, but just a statement in reference to the board can communicate, but they cannot discuss library business in their communication if they are gathered together. That's where the caveat of the law comes into play there. If you're discussing, you 2, 3 of us together discussing the library business, that constitutes a meeting. But other than that, we're talking about any other things, it doesn't apply.
Yes, sir.
So thank the Board of Trustees for their participation. We had great representation from the state. We also had recognition from one of our board members who participated, Dr. Harris, where they really, those who stayed on the entire presentation, they gave recognition to the beautiful East Cleveland Public Library, and they showed a picture of our library. So kudos to Dr. Harris for her support around that. For those who did not participate or would like to see the entire workshop, we have a link where Mr. Turner can send you the passcode and can give you all the credentials to get access to. So it's very, very good information.
I think so. Well worth the investment of the time for certain. I guess that concludes my report. So the next item on our agenda is the director's report. Mr. Latimer.
Okay, the director's report, my director's report will be our staff and our team presenting today our major projects, starting with the digital sign, which we partnered with a local company, Major Source. And we have Mr. Major Harrison III, I believe he's in the building.
Yes, I just saw that.
Okay, there he is. Mr. Harrison is going to introduce you, and you're on the clock in regards to your presentation.
Mr. Chairman, where would you like me to present it, sir?
I'm sorry?
Where would you like me to present?
Well, I think they set this area up front for you to utilize. Mr. Turner, is this right here? Okay.
And then this microphone?
No, in fact, the microphone pick you up.
It'll catch you, yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna move to an area where I can have a better view.
All right. Am I okay to? I'm set? Okay, all right, good afternoon. My name is Major Harris and I'm with Major Source LLC. We are a project management consultation perm procurement company. We advise commercial companies through the city approval process. We project management, signage, demo companies, plumbing companies, things of that nature. I'd like to first thank Mr. Lattimore and East Cleveland Public Library for bringing us in for this exciting, wonderful project. I think this can be a mainstay, a beacon in the city of East Cleveland, especially along Euclid. Okay, let's make no mistake, we are competing with University Circle and all the new development that they have created. And what we're doing with this new signage will put us in line, if not ahead of them. They have nothing freestanding that is similar or even comparable to what we are proposing. Now, a little bit about myself. I started off in perm procurement sales with a sign company. I did that for about 10.5 years. I broke off in February of 2018 to formulate Major Source. I wanted to expand the experiences and the services that I can provide to all commercial companies. I didn't want to be pigeonholed, if that makes any sense, okay? So with that being said, thank you to East Cleveland Public Library for bringing us on, and we are prepared to go full steam ahead. Now, we've only been on the project for roughly about a week and a half. East Cleveland Public Library has given me a team, the Deputy Director, Ms. Teresa Flood, as well as the Facilities Manager, Mr. Cooper, or Mr. Rick Cooper. And we have been in constant contact on what we want to design, what we think is going to be amazing for the library itself. Okay, so with that being said, we are in the very beginning stages of everything that we have laid out. Okay, and that is including, as detailed in everything, the information I provided. We are just at the conceptual stage of everything. So what we wanted to do is take the time to present this to the board as to where we are at this point. Okay, we have reviewed, well, Major Source has designed a few different options. Working with the team, we kind of settled on maybe 2 different options that we wanted to show today. And that's what we have before you at this point. Now, we are going on this board top to bottom, from top to bottom, okay? The first option is a full color electronic message center. As you can see in this picture here depicted with the young man reading a book. With a header cabinet that is a routed out aluminum cabinet, meaning that we cut out the aluminum, we back it up with a white Lexan, as well as the book logo also, and as well as the East Cleveland Public Library aspect of it also, okay? So when this lights up in the evening, all you will see is the book logo, the Ecpl, and the East Cleveland Public Library wording, okay? It's very centralized, it's very aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, that's it. This is not a cabinet that you see at some mom and pop place where the whole thing lights up. That is not this. Okay, this is just the wording itself. Obviously, electronic message center speaks for itself, and I'll get back to the details of electronic message center very shortly. We wanted to utilize a base that would kind of mimic the lips of the curb as you're going up the ramp. Okay, now that's going to be tough. It's a concrete. What's out there that's existing has been in the field for quite some time, but we're going to do our best. The address numerals will be a 1/2 inch PVC. Okay, that will just be a mainstay. It does not illuminate. Okay, we chose a 2-foot high by 6-foot base because of, obviously, in the wintertime, snow gets backed up on it. We didn't want to have an aluminum base where something can be rotted out, excuse me. We didn't want to have to replace an aluminum base covering after X amount of years. Okay. This will be in a triangular fashion as indicated, or very similar to what's out there now, but we are much higher. Now, to give you an idea of the size, we use this man as a scale. This man is 6 feet high. Okay, so this is what you'll be seeing in the field. If you look at one of your pages up here, I know this is kind of difficult to see. This is how big we're going. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Now, that's the view headed eastbound. on
Yes, sir.
Fifth Avenue, headed towards Winterberry.
Correct.
What's the view going westbound?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same, and the clearances and everything about.
Exactly the same.
So we would not have to do any major reconfiguration of the front of the library to get that view going both ways.
No, sir.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
No, sir. Okay. Looking at this option here on the left, electronic mess centers. This has been a big discussion with the team, as well as with Mr. Latimer. Okay. This is what we're proposing is the highest resolution electronic mess center that you can buy in the field. 6 millimeter. Okay. And just to be clear, the higher the resolution, well, let me back it up. The lower the megapixel, which is 6 millimeter, is the higher the resolution, which is the most costliest. Okay, this is what they have with all the vendors that I use, and I only use 3, and they're American-based. We are not going over to Japan or China and buying a unit, okay, for a lot of different reasons. We want to have a firm warranty. You want to have absolute maintenance when necessary, and we don't want anything cheap. We're going with a 6 millimeter. We do have the option to go with an 8. We want to go with 6 because we want longevity. We want to be ahead of the game. Typically, electronic mess centers have a real shelf life of about 6, maybe 7 years. Okay, so that's very important. So if we go 6, if you invest now, 6 millimeter, when that time frame hits 5, 6, 7 years, we're still ahead of the game. If you want to, this.
So you're saying that 6 is more durable than the 8?
No, I'm saying technology-wise. Okay, if I can use the analogy like when we discussed, okay, why continue to use a flip phone when you have an iPhone, if that makes any kind of sense, okay? Why? We're not proposing what you have down here at the church, which is probably like a 12 or maybe a 16 millimeter, or what you have up here at Shaw.
When you say millimeter, are you referring to the size of the graphics on the screen?
The megapixels, yes.
Okay.
Okay, right. Or what they have down here at Shaw, which I'm pretty sure is about a 16 millimeter, okay? We are a lot better than that.
In terms of
the resolution, sir.
resolution.
Yes, sir.
Another question for you. This
Yes.
is East Cleveland.
Yes.
How durable is this sign for little kids with rocks?
Well, if a kid wants to destroy something, a kid is going to destroy something. I mean, that's just being honest. Now, what we can do is apply to the face of the mess center, a plexiglass, a clear plexiglass to kind of protect it.
Like the kind that's in the stores that stop, you know, the kind they use as protective shields in a sense?
In a
something like
sense,
that?
yes, yes. It'll be something that we will tie into the cabinet that will stop anything, rocks, bricks, and so forth, you know.
I know that that would increase the cost and have some effect on the current design. But
Mm,
just being honest with myself and my fellow board members, this is East Cleveland.
Yeah.
My hometown. I love it. But the reality of it is that I sat here and watched kids break the windows down on the other side of that parking lot.
All right.
And although I hope that, and because we have not experienced a lot of vandalism here at the library, we can thank God for that because people do appreciate the work that we do and they have respect for the library. But there's always the potential, and if there's anything that we can do to be proactive, to at least give ourselves some sort of extra barrier of protection, I'd like to have that, I'd like to entertain that thought.
That's not a problem. What we will probably do is tie in screws around this parameter, okay, and have a plexiglass that will be applied to it. It won't touch the face of the mess center, but it will offer some protection.
Okay, and is there outdoor type that we won't have to be concerned about yellowing and fading and distortion of the actual,
That clear plexi.
right,
Well, this will be something that can be easily replaced.
okay,
Okay, and be quite honest with you, the cost is very minimal.
okay, once we get the diameter.
Yes, sir.
Everything figured out and to make it where we can just change it out, because if it does get cracked or get scratched or
Faded.
damaged or faded by kids or someone else, we can just come in and replace those.
That's correct.
Okay.
We will design something that can be, and not to put you on the spot, Mr. Cooper, but he can basically unscrew it, screw the new one back in. It's very simple.
For 10 tons of fuel.
And will that cost a little more than what we have already
Well-
elucidated on?
Well, we have not done anything bid wise.
Second, I heard my colleague indicate that we in East Cleveland. The sign at Shaw, the sign at Starlight Church, sitting out there all alone
Mhm.
in the parking lot, there on Euclid Avenue. It has not been destroyed or tampered with since they had it.
Right.
And I know when they installed it, as well as the one at Shaw High School,
Yes, sir.
that one has not been damaged.
Correct.
The children. And I'm not going to just castigate East Cleveland. Crime and destruction of property or what have you is all over, not only just East Cleveland.
That's correct. Yes, sir. This is an option. Okay, that's all we're proposing.
Having sung that song, still take the figure.
That's fine. That will be up to the company that will manufacture it. We'll include it into the specs that we mock up for the bid that's going out.
So let me clarify something. Your role in this is going to be our project management and consultant. Are there going to be other ideas presented to us for this same sign, or are we going to adopt this as being what we want? And then, I guess,
Great question. Great question. This is it. What the board decides on is what we're going to go with. Okay.
So are you saying that we're going to see other presentations of possible signage, designs? Or are we talking today to accept this design? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think that should be directed to the director or either the committee, whomever.
This is designed as the recommendation from the team. However, the team is aware that we wanted to share this with the board because you all have final approval. If there are other specifications that you feel should be part of this digital signage, feel free to share that information with us. This is just step one in the entire step 10 process.
Correct.
Okay, I think they clarified for me. So the team has been presented with options, and this is the one that you think is the best of what you've seen so far. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, these two,
Okay, thank
these
you
two.
very much.
Yeah, we are really, in a perfect world, seeking the board's approval for one or maybe two options. And if there are things that they would like to see, just like we mentioned, with a protective plexiglass applied to the faces, then that's something that we would, want to adopt. Okay. Now, the second option on the right, top to bottom, the difference with this is we have a bigger electronic message center with no header cabinet. Okay. This is the header cabinet. This has none. Okay. So this is just full screen.
The header cap is lit, it's actually lighted at night, so when you drive by, you will see the ECP.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And then also, I mean, with this is also illuminated at night.
Okay.
Okay. You could literally put Ecpl up here and do whatever you desire down here. Okay. Now, let me get to the nuts and bolts. Electronic message center is like a television. You can do anything you want with it. It does not have sound. Okay. Yes, you can broadcast something live in the library. Okay. You can do anything you want with these things. Let's make no mistake. All right. There are limitations, fundamental limitations. Okay. You do not want to bring a distraction to vehicular traffic driving along Euclid. Okay. You do not want to be broadcasting a East Cleveland Chiefs football game and that mom is coming down the road and say, hey, look at my son, and bam, something bad happens. Okay. All right. Now, in all municipalities, and I've done this for 13 and a half years, close to 14 years. In all municipalities, there are strict regulations as to what you are allowed to broadcast and how it can be broadcast. Okay. I want to make that clear. Now, yeah, you can go out there and do it, but I don't think anyone wants to be liable for something that happens and somebody in court is saying, hey, I was distracted by this sign right here. Okay. We don't want that. Typically, ODOT regulates static messages for 8 seconds. Nothing that is flashing, scrolling, rotating, causing any kind of form of distraction. That's what they regulate. And that's all municipalities. Okay. I want to make that clear. It has the capabilities to do anything you want it to do. Okay. Let's get that straight. All right. So
I kind of different with the respect. As I said to you earlier, we are home rule city.
yes,
And we regulate signs and et cetera in the city. That's under the
It's a state route.
home rule city. We are home rule city, that we are watching the laws and accept it. What have you. The only time the state comes into play is when we are silent on something. We refer to the Ohio Revised Code. But East Cleveland has norms set up for signs and everything of that nature.
yes,
So I agree with the fact that not having a ball game playing on there or whatever. Yes, that will distract, but I do see signs, whereas in Cleveland, downtown Cleveland, they have signs that all kinds of activities going on or whatever, flashing over there, whatever. It does catch your eye, but we have to be cognizant of that if you're driving, and I've seen a lot of people fall from looking or what have you, but we don't want to get into that. We want a sign to indicate what's going on in happening in the school out there.
Correct.
And that's what we want.
Okay, well, like I said, you can do anything you want with it. Okay, I would be remiss if I did not mention or tell you that. And then also, Mr. Mays, as we discussed, Euclid is a state route. Yes, East Cleveland has their own codified ordinance. Okay, it falls in line to what all the other municipalities dictate. Okay, you can do what you want to do. Okay, I did the 9 project. Okay, that's way up there, it's downtown, I understand it, I know what it is, I did the Tri-C. When you're traveling north up 77, about to get back on the route 2, I did that one. All right, so I know these mess centers, okay? As we discussed, I did the Honda motor cars, right there on Superior and Mayfield. All right, that's a huge distraction. You know, I mean, just to be quick, you know, my brother, when it was installed, was driving by, he took a picture of it, said, man, who the heck installed this bright sign right here on the corner? You know, so I understand that, you know. But that was a different kind of conversation, you know. But yes, I understand that, all right? You have to be aware of this, all right? But you also have to be aware of, this is a 6mm unit, and you can do the world with it.
So we can run our community bulletin board.
Yes.
The programming of this will basically fall into our IT department.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so this club will pretty much be in control of how we interact with the public to get messages there. And
Correct.
messages that we want to deliver to the public.
Correct.
To make sure that we are in compliance with the state laws, regardless of being on home rule city, because that's a state route. Euclid Avenue is still a state route.
Yes.
You control that, Euclid Avenue that's in the city, in the school. Every municipality control whether it's a state route or.
Not true.
Or whatever, that's not control.
Not true.
No.
Beside that road that's going to distract.
It's not, yeah, that's not true, Mr. Mays.
We have to follow.
ODOT, if ODOT came out here and had to bust up something around here and they see it, and yes, you can be cited by ODOT, by the state. Okay, you could be cited by East Cleveland. I doubt that happening, but ODOT will cite you. Okay, they could very well do that.
So why enter into that possibility when we can avoid that just by complying with, current laws? Because I think we still can actually clearly do what we'd like to do without being in of a threat of somebody coming behind us and making us basically throw our money down the drain.
But we're not talking about putting up a movie out there. We're only talking about what's happening within these 4 walls.
And that's fine. That's fine. Okay. All I was trying to explain or express is that it can do whatever you want it to do. You know.
You can be aware of the limitations.
Correct.
I just wanted to get approval from the board that our team is moving in the right direction. Because there will be this is all preparation, because there will be a formal bidding process where it will be presented to the board, bids will be opened by the board. So there will be total full 100% board engagement.
Correct. Correct. Okay. Right. And to piggyback off of what Mr. Latimer said, that once we receive the aesthetic approval from the board, we're full go. We start drawing up we kind of gave a kind of detailed timeline, if you will, as to how we're going to be moving along. We're going into bid specifications. We're going to draw that up. We're going to get, with Ms. Flood and Mr. Cooper. We already have, I have vendors in mind, companies that are capable of doing this exact kind of work. We've looked at as I've spoken before, the 3 different manufacturers of this unit. And we're going, that's where we're going. Now, this is the best part. This is the best part of our major source. When we draw up this bid, We have all the specs. They can't tell us anything. That company has to bid on these specific specs. Okay, this monument, these letters, the cabinet, the unit, the megapixel, everything. Okay, they're not just shooting in the wind and saying, hey, well, we're going to do this. Well, we think we should do this. No, no, no. It's already taken care of. Okay, so the difference between whatever prices that we get, we're going to know who is playing around with us and who's serious. Okay, because we're going to know everything already. All right, I don't have.
Question. So I was under the impression that you were going to do this, so you're assisting us in finding a vendor.
Yes.
that will-
A reputable vendor, okay? Preferably one that is MBE, SBE, okay? That fits in those kind of criterias, okay? All right, no, I can't, that's a complete conflict of interest, okay? I'm hired to project management consult, and just to be clear, I'm taking the project from conception to installation, and I'm dealing with the city. Okay, that's my job. That's what I'm hired to do. Okay, now going back to the best part about this, or why I was really brought in, you're not going to have a difference of one company saying, oh, it's going to be $80,000 versus one company saying $60,000. Okay, no, it should never happen. All right, the price difference between anything that we do, and from the masonry work to everything, should be very small. That's the best part about this.
So you will be monitoring.
I will have all the specifications done. The only thing I haven't showed you guys are footer details. That's the only thing I haven't showed. Okay.
If you ask the same question that I asked, you just ask it different ways.
That's it. That's the only thing we haven't provided. Is my engineer, my architect. Well, I'm going to an engineer for something as big as this. Okay. And that's that. Engineering goes into the city, full specifications go into the bid process, the unit, everything. Okay. Now they can go and choose between the 3 different vendors that we give them that they got to go to. They pick it. This should not be a difference of no more than $5,000 from a company. It all depends on who wants to.
And then it gets down to reputation and liability and so on.
There you go. Now, thank you. Okay. I do have offers from the vendors that manufacture the mess center of a 5-year, 7-year, and 10-year. Okay. Now, I haven't gone into details because we haven't decided completely on size, aesthetics just yet. Okay. All right. So I'm here before you to tell you where we are in the process. We are in the very beginning. Okay. And to show you where we at this point. Okay. So I guess with that being said, 3. 3 companies too. Three different sign companies, 3 different vendors that can manufacture the unit.
My question was, can you, in this signage that you alluded to there, what is the distance a person can read?
Great question. Mr. Cooper and I were just speaking right before you guys called me in, and I was happened to be going down to leaving McDonald's, going down to the post office, and I'm at just past the McDonald's, and I'm looking at the sign, I'm looking at the tree. Okay, and Mr. Cooper and I was just telling him, I said, man, I think we can go a little bit higher. All right, now this one is really at about 13 feet, 6 inches high. The other one is about 14 feet. You're not going to notice 16 or 6 inches. I'm thinking we can go a little bit higher. Okay, maybe 16 feet high. Okay, that's just my thought process. And I think Mr. Cooper and I, we were kind of like, yeah, man, you're probably right. You know, just to, I'll be frank. I want to blow Ari Stein out the water. I want to kill Shaw. I want to kill the church. All right. Wendy's. All right. I want this sign to be the most visible sign that you see in East Cleveland. Okay. I'm also selfishly competing with what you got going down there at University Circle. Okay. I'm just to be honest.
My concern is that it fits within aesthetically.
Yes.
With the library, and it just don't look like this monstrosity sitting out in front of the library.
Mhm.
And I know that there's a delicate balance for us to strike.
Sure.
At how it fits within the whole landscape, and is there going to be landscaping around this? How it looks. I understand what you're saying, but I was concerned about it just looking like somebody just dropped this giant sign in front of the library. And, you know, I know we're respectful of that, but I just have to get in my mind that it blends and gives, it complements the current look of the library. And, you know, looking at this picture here in particular, how it fits into this one, because I think this gives us a better overall, this view gives us a better overall look as to how it would fit in aesthetically.
Sure.
Seeing it on this angle right here.
Sure. Now, one of the things is to speak, you know, to your concern is you have to measure out the distance between where the sign is, okay, located to the building, as well as where the sign is located to the curb. Now, I think we can come out a little bit more. You have 220 inches from the inside or the outside of the ramp to this outside lip. Maybe we can come out more. Now, another thing, we're not going wide. We're going horizontal. Okay. So that, I think that, you know, yeah, vertical, excuse me. Yeah. So we're not going wide, we're going vertical. Okay, so this is going to be, and then you're only 5 feet 9 inches. You're only 5 feet 9 inches wide. We're just going tall. Okay, now I understand your concern. We want to also maintain the historical aspect of the library, okay? Incorporating colors, okay? Maybe even changing the base to mimic what's out there on the building as close as possible, okay? Utilizing the colors in the molding here around the cabinet, okay? Different points that this is inconsequential. This is just color matching, okay? Aesthetically, these are our thoughts. This is what the team and I share, okay? So.
We want the board to share as well.
Yes, please. Please.
And that's the area that the sign is going, that's the.
Yes, yes. The only difference is maybe going a little bit forward some. Okay, that's the only difference, maybe getting it closer to Euclid and away from the building. We haven't really figured that out. I've had a bunch of calls into the building department in East Cleveland, but apparently there's only one person who understands setbacks and zoning, and they don't answer the phone. So we're still working on that. Okay, but that's inconsequential at this point. We're here solely to see what you think about the design and any feedback that you may want to offer us. We are completely open to it.
Well, put my 2 cents in. I like the one with the Ecpl at the top.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Because you see that, you basically see that before you see anything else.
That's your branding right there.
Mhm, exactly.
So, we did set ground rules for the team. Me representing the board, set ground rules for our team. They are to meet weekly. So any feedback you all have, please share that with me. I'll share it with the team.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, one of the suggestions I had with the top being flat, I didn't want water or snow to sit on it. We talked about maybe like an angle or something. So there, that could be.
That's not a problem. I have a graphic artist on staff.
Okay.
So any changes that Mr. Latimer gets back to me, we can just make those. Okay. Base, thoughts, yeah, just please. We ideally want to get this in no later than July. Okay, we want to have this done. Okay.
Actually
And
have it installed,
yes,
that's wonderful.
that's our goal, or that's the team's goal, is to have this installed by July. So that's why this sounds like I'm kind of pushing. Yes, I am. I want the feedback, because I'm turning this drawing around quickly. And then I also think that once we get the feedback, we follow up with what everyone says, we can kick this over to every board member via email and say, yes, okay, I like this, okay? Then we start our bid stuff. We get it out and start working, okay? So I'm not trying to push anyone, but this is, yes, sir.
Just a rough guesstimate, if you in fact have any idea. To recreate that sign, do you have any idea the ballpark in terms of numbers from?
I have none at this point.
Okay, that's fair. Let's just leave it like that.
Yeah, we haven't decided, we don't know what masonry we're going to use. We don't know if we're getting bigger on the mess center. Right now, we're just looking at design. Okay. So once if the feedback comes back and say, hey, I want the brick from the building. Hey, that changes, because now this isn't concrete anymore. Okay. It's everything changes. Only thing we know for a fact is that we're going 6mm. We can even give it out to bid and say, give us a price for an 8mm. I don't know if I want to do that personally, because like I said, I want to stay ahead. I don't want to have to replace something, or somebody does something and it just blows us out the water. Yes, ma'am.
I agree, I like the one that has, I agree, I like the first one on the left, because it has the lettering for East Cleveland Public Library. But I too am concerned about the aesthetics of it, because if you look at the building has the brick with the kind of orange painting, and then the new facility is on that color line, but it's glass. So to put something else that's, I don't know about those colors. I like the concept of the sign, but something that, matches both of the, it kind of blends both of the buildings.
Sure. Yeah. The glass portion of it utilizes the brushed aluminum molding. That's the way we can maybe go with the cabinet. We can paint the cabinet to match the window frames. We could do a lot with this, but like I said, this is kind of small potatoes. Color matching, everything like that. I haven't even brought out the Sherwin-Williams book to match anything yet. Okay, we're just looking at plain design right now, So yes, Mr. Mays.
You may have stipulated it, but probably I didn't hear it. Have you found a location that it could be that would not be obstructed coming from east rather than west, because I know that big tree sitting.
That's exactly why we may want to go a little bit closer to Euclid, and maybe a little bit higher. That's the only reason why Rick and I were kind of talking about that. We just maybe go a little bit higher. Maybe we can get a couple feet closer to Euclid. Okay. Now, at 14 feet, we're pretty good as shown. Okay. But if we go a little bit higher, if we say we do what Mr. Latimer said and make kind of slope down and raise it up a little bit, we can get to 16 feet, maybe 16 and a half. Okay. But it would definitely stand out no matter what. Okay. All right. Now getting a little bit closer, like I said, I got to talk to East Cleveland because I pulled up their zoning maps. I'm not sure if it's changed. I'll deal with that. That's my job. Okay.
So in respect to time, Harrison will be invited to the next Buildings and Grounds meeting. I'm sure Mr. O'Mays is going to have this on the agenda, and we will move through the process.
Okay.
So Harrison, thank you very much.
Can I? I'm sorry.
Do you have another question?
I know you're gonna deal with the labor part, but what's the estimation of time to take to complete the project?
If I was doing a sign, I always tell people or my customers, with something like this, give us 8 weeks. And I'm pretty sure that's what they would say. Okay. Is there any objection to making some small changes and emailing everything over to Mr. Latimer and getting out to the board?
No, that's the appropriate way to do it, to send it to Mr. Latimer and he'll share it with us.
That's fine. Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you very
And
much.
again, thank you for coming in.
No, not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel like we've taken a big step here today.
Big stuff. Okay. So
Mr.
part
Latimer?
part two of the direction board. We have our creative initiative team. Mr. Harrison, thank you very much. Thank you. There are other projects that were approved in the budget. Thank you, Mr. Cotfield. So the project overview, we have Ms. Flood and Mr. Cooper. We'll go through the presentation, but in order for the East Cleveland Public Library to stay aligned to our 2021-2024 strategic initiative, the following projects that were approved by the board should be executed in 2021, including replacement of the flat roof over the nonfiction area, the new carpeting in the main floor, and initiative number 2, innovation and technology, the new print copy center, and the new privacy divided huddle spaces. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our deputy director, Ms. Flood. We'll talk about it in buildings. Okay. And buildings and grounds.
Okay, the 2021 projects, major projects that will be taking place this year will be the print copy station for staff, the huddle spaces, the non-fiction roof repair, and the main floor new carpet.
Okay, here, I see it now. We just changed on my computer.
Oh, okay. Okay, the business center will consist, I'm not sure if everybody can see it, but it should be on your Zoom, or you might have it in that pamphlet. This right here will be the new business center, which will be located inside our nonfiction area, which will consist of the print center station, which we will have several printers. We have 2 multifunctional printers, a large format printer where patrons can print out posters and banners and things of that nature, a laminator machine, and a tabletop cutter. So if somebody wants business cards, flyers, invites, things like that, we can all do it inside this one little area right here. Over here will consist of huddle spaces, and huddle spaces is basically where our patrons will be able to, Mr. Cox, better go back to that. Our Huddle Spaces is basically where patrons could come in and meet. They don't have to make a reservation because a lot of our rooms are reservation only. With these Huddle Spaces, 1 to 2 people can come in and sit, utilize that space without any reservation. They can have the use of a monitor, a 55-inch monitor, USB cables, a camera in case they need to do teleconferencing, and just, private study room if necessary. So it will be 2 of those, 2 stations. So it'll be one on both sides. You have to, one on both sides. So.
Something's happening because our presentation here is not keeping up with what's going on there. Is it meant to?
Pardon me?
Is it meant to okay.
It should, but it's probably delayed because that's online and it's not.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on the Huddle stations? Good. Okay, this is basically the quote that we received from Ecpl Technologies, which consists of like 12,000 plus to get all that installed, all the equipment. That's just for the Huddle Spaces. That's not the print center copy station. Mr. Cockfield will go over the price list for the print center copy. Mr. Cockfield,
Yes, ma'am.
will you be ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is the Ecpl print copy center projections that Mr. Cockfield will go over.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Blood. I had asked Ms. Green Ms. Green as well as Ms. Chambers to take a look at some of the pricing from Office Max and kind of give us a sense of what we might be able to charge for similar services in our print copy center. So what you see before you would represent some tentative pricing that we would be looking to charge. What I also asked is that based on some historical data, what did they estimate to be the frequency of printing certain items? And so this is what I've tried to put together. So this is very rough. We obviously don't have any hard data that we can work with, but what I tried to do is to come up with some very basic projections in terms of what we could expect to receive on a monthly basis based on the numbers they gave me. What I want to also point out is that the projections that I put together are simply based on a 10-day month. So these are very, very conservative. I'm guessing that once the print copy center gets into full swing, these numbers are going to go up dramatically. So just in terms of projections and kind of take a look at what we could expect to receive, that's what I was working with. So if you kind of go all the way to the far right-hand column and come all the way down, you could see that on a 10-month basis, based on the services that we're looking to provide, we could expect roughly $2,300 or $2,367 per month for the services. Now,
That's based on a 10-day month?
10-day month, yes.
Okay.
Assuming that these requests and these services are provided. For example, we have photo prints. We have a 4x6 print, which would be 1 pages, say 2 requests per day. That would give us a daily total of 58 cents. And over the course of a 10-day month, that would be $5.80.
Okay.
So once again, these are very conservative, and again, we don't know. Now, the other side of this equation, obviously, is the cost to operate the print copy center. We don't know what the supplies costs are going to be, nor do we know how frequently we're going to have to be purchasing supplies. I'm estimating, though, that given the fact that our fixed costs are basically going to be our lease cost, maybe some salaries, depending on how Mr. Latimer and Ms. Flood choose to staff the copy center. But our fixed cost would be our salaries as well as our lease costs. Variable costs would obviously be our supplies and toners and things of that nature that would obviously fluctuate based on volumes. My guess is that at $2,300 per month, we would probably be close to break even. I can't imagine our fixed costs and our variable costs being so great that $2,300 a month would not fully cover our expenses. Yes.
But at this point, you haven't gotten a number for the reoccurring charges like the machines and all of those contracts yet?
We have our lease costs are built in. I mean, our lease costs represent, let's see, I think it's about, I don't have we were estimating about, I want to say $600 for the balance of the year. If this goes into operation in July, our lease cost for the balance of the year would be somewhere around $500 to $600. The cost to lease these pieces of equipment are surprisingly low.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Ecpl or either Mrs. Flood. Can we utilize some of the copy machines that we have now? Are we speaking in reference of purchasing more copy machines and all this other equipment besides what we have already?
Are you suggesting that we take some machines out of service where they currently are and put them into service in this copy center?
Yes, since we located, everything is going to be located, we have what we call copy center. Will everything be located in this particular?
Yeah, I think that would be more question from Ms. Flood.
No, the machines that we are purchasing for this print center is a little bit more high powered because we are doing like digital publishing or desktop publishing. So the quality of the print jobs need to be high resolution, high quality, instead of just like a regular print copy like this. You know, if somebody wants to do a flyer or invitation, we would like for that to come out nice, glossy, you know, like a portrait, you know, because a lot of people might come in for portraits and flyers and brochures, newsletters, presentations, and they would like to, you know, something more, you know, with a bang to it.
So have you, I guess, done your homework in reference to what the cost factor is going to cost to facilitate this, what you're about to embark upon?
Can you repeat that, please?
Did your research in reference to what the cost factor is going to be of purchasing these machines, what it's going to cost for all of this?
Yes, that's why we took from leasing and purchasing them straight out. So leasing was more of a better option for Ecpl.
So you're going to lease opposed to purchase?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what Mr. Carpenter was sharing with us as it relates to the overall cost and then what we would generate and that we would be at a break-even point if we just did a 10-day month. So if we're on a normal basis, we would of course have more than 10 days in a month that this center would be open. So everything else is upside for us, including the cost of leasing the equipment. And to your original question about what we were going to do with the old stuff, are we just going to retire it and it just goes away?
No, those are located inside. One is located on the main floor for patrons that come in and utilize the printer. The computer's there and they need to print. They can use that printer. And
We
then
own those?
no, we still release those as well.
Okay.
It's gonna be through the same company.
Okay, when those leases die, would those, instead of reverting to using those old copy machines, would it just go over to the center?
No, those right there would just be exchanged for a newer one.
Okay.
No update, newer up to date in that model. Okay, it would be two different models. Another model inside the print center station and the one that's on the floor in the computer labs.
And one of the floors primarily for intra use in the building for things that we do.
Well, no, for like patrons that use our computer labs, And they come in and they print, or if they just coming in to print from their phone or anything like that, just a regular print job.
Okay.
That's what those are for.
Okay, and the copy centers were more advanced, more
Yes.
focused work.
Mhm,
Okay, I see
mhm,
what you're
mhm,
saying.
yes.
And our prices, we have to be competitive to a certain degree because there's nobody around us. We're on an island over here.
Mhm.
So I mean, as long as we're competitive with Kinko's and everybody else, I mean, we could almost be even Steven in price just because of convenience.
Yeah.
So,
How are you going to promote this?
We're going to, once the equipment is purchased and staff is trained, we're gonna do a full marketing campaign around not only those new services, but some of the existing service things that we do. So we have a marketing team and we're meeting regularly with them. We look to do a big open house as well in September, hopefully with the print center and the marquee and all of the other new things. We want to do a big introduction to the community.
great. That sounds wonderful.
For the center, will it be, will the patrons actually work the machines, or will you have somebody else using this or printing for the patrons?
We'll have a staff person actually printing them out for them.
Okay.
So they can either use the Huddle Space, which will be located right next to it, and work on their project, or they can work on it inside one of our computer labs, and then they can just bring their flash drive over and give it to the person, the staff person there, and then print it out.
Okay, so they won't be back there.
Right, no.
Well, they will be taught how, we should train, they will be taught how to operate the machine. Okay.
Yes, 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 all the staff will be taught.
Mr. Latimer, I have one question. In terms of the profits that's generated out of the copy center, what's your idea in terms of how you, those funds will be applied in terms of the overall budget?
Basically, early on, we know the funds will be more break even. Once those recovered funds from participants participating in our copy center, go back in the general fund, and when we meet with the finance committee, appropriate those funds accordingly.
Okay.
Anything else we should know?
No, that's it.
I think it's a great idea because I utilize Office Max. I do sell it on Poshmark, stuff like that. And when sometimes my printer is not broke, when my printer is broken, if I need to print out, go there. And what they charge is $75. They put a $75 hold on your card just to do, you know, little copies.
Wow.
So yeah, you know, $75 hold on there, just in case, you know, you want to buy the store. You know. And then they release it, but you know, and that's if you know, for me to print labels, it costs like a nickel. But if you let me phrase it, if you spend under $2, then it's $75. You have to spend a maximum of $2 on your print in order for you not to have a $75 hold on the card. So that's crazy. So I think that's great.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Just keep in mind too, one of the things we want to incorporate into the Copy Print Center is work with the Small Business Administration and create a little small business center where we're offering community resources on how to open and start a small business. So that would be part of it.
That's great, Carlos.
No, I guess this class is not coming up.
Yeah, I think also it's a good way to get people into the library, because once they come in and use the services, they may look around and say, oh, I may want a book or other services, you know, the library offers. When you get them in the door, you may get some other a patron, you know, involved in some other aspects of library services.
And that's where the marquee comes in.
Yeah.
It's a great advertising.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving on now to the new roof or the roof improvements with Mr. Cooper. We'll take over.
But out of everything we just talked about, all the revenue that we can make, all the advertisement and marketing, it won't make any difference if we don't have a new roof over that section. So here we provide you with a couple sections of the roof that's compromising the interior of the spaces that we need to provide the community with these services.
So
what we have here is some pictures of some of the areas that's damaged over the areas that we was talking about to where we're gonna have the new print center at. Over here is a section over where the office space is, where the technical services is. Over here is a section behind where our Llewellyn section, our local history archives is. And then there was another section on it. I think you have it in your
I see it.
printouts.
Mhm.
There's a York condensing unit there. And that's the area that's over the conference room. Y'all ever there? It's a air conditioner, a condensing unit. Over that section there is the conference room. Y'all been in the conference room, y'all seen that ceiling. We have plenty of interior damage in there. So the company that we would need to hire would take the condenser unit off the roof in order to repair it properly. And that should be on the right side of your printouts. It's not showing up here, but I believe it's inside.
This one, you can see it.
Yeah. So the roofing company would take that unit apart with a crane, pull it up, repair the roof and put it back.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the condenser unit itself in, working, it's in totally good working?
Yes, it's
condition?
in totally good working condition.
Okay.
Yep.
Excuse me, did I understand you to say the person that will remove the air conditioning also is going to install the roof as well?
Yes, that eliminates us from having any liability of having to take the unit apart as well as put it back together.
And they're just moving to do the job and put it back.
On the next slide here on your printouts, we have a new carpet on the main floor. As you can see, if you have pretty much walked through the years, carpet was installed in 2005. Most of these commercial carpets last 5, 7, 10, some even 15, depending on how much you spend on the material. Carpet has been damaged and steamed, and standing steam come in, and it just tears up the integrity of it. And over the years, it's worn out. It's time to replace it. So we do have a couple of carpet samples for y'all to look at. We had the executive director and the deputy director pick out their favorites, but we're gonna task the library board with your input. This is, the stakeholders of our city to make a choice for us. So just remember, it's not your home. It has to be, aesthetically pleasing to everyone. It has to be kind of neutral. So if your favorite color is purple, I don't think we should put purple.
I like
keep that in mind.
with the darkest one that we can get.
Now,
That'd be a little bit easier to keep clean.
I agree. The busier and the darker the color is, it'll give a good complementary or contrast to the walls that we got in there. We already painted the team room, we painted the reference room, we painted the local history room, and we're going to continue to go with that same color throughout the building. As well as replacing the new ceiling tiles is a lot brighter with the LED lights. So it should give us a pretty good look once we have the main reading area floor done, as well as the painting, the copy center, the new marquee, looking real good around here coming out of East Cleveland Public Library. I always wanted this space to be the best we could be. It seems like we're pretty much on our way, especially in this year.
So before the meeting is over, we would like the board to kind of get in a huddle and pick which carpet you want us to have in the building. Ms. Flood and I will fight with you over what it should be. So.
I'll go wherever you choose.
And we'll let the board.
Okay. So kind of, while you guys doing that, just for time wise, on the next page, we have cost projections. And Mr. Cockfield, if you don't mind providing the rest of the board or board members with the cost projections.
Yes, let's see, this is the copy.
It's I like my circles and graphs. So it's visual. The visual is always important. The walls are, the color is like an off-white, but the proper name is Weston. The eggshells actually, the finished eggshell satin, semi-gloss, that's actually finished. The name of this color is West, I want to say Westinghouse, white Westinghouse, or something like that. I don't know the proper name, I'll get it for you, I promise. That's the color we generally is in here and is around the entire building. We try to want to keep everything kind of the same. There will be areas that will be a little different, maybe like the conference room have its own look. Maybe some of the offices, administrative offices will have some type of different, but where the public is and the common space is probably pretty much the same.
Okay, I found the page, thank you. The carpet, the carpet is, has been estimated to cover the entire main reading room as well as the teen room and the Black History room. With an estimated projected cost of $49,446. This probably represents roughly 1/3 of the total cost to recarpet the entire library. Obviously, this does not cover coming back toward the administrative offices, the carpet in front of the Greg Reese auditorium. Again, this is all out in the, I guess it's called the Carnegie Building. Is that correct, Mr. Cooper?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this entire, this cost covers the replacement of all the carpet in the Carnegie Building.
And of course, we've had competing bids.
Yes, we have other estimates competing with this price.
And what you said the cost is, the projected cost is how much for it?
$49,446. This is the cost of the entire main library.
That's right at the threshold of 50,000, so we have to go out and bid.
Right. Right. This is below the bid threshold.
Yeah.
This is just an estimate.
So,
But if you stay under the 50,000, it doesn't have to go out for bids.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
If you go 50,000 more.
But I think it's our advantage. Just send it out for bid.
I'm sorry?
I said, I think it would be to our advantage to put it out for bid, because then that creates the level of competition to get the job, especially once we choose what we want. So who puts it down in the installation, as long as they're credible people, it'll then be a competition for them. Getting the job is what their charges. The competition will be over the price of it. So I just think it would be to our advantage to put it up for bids.
I believe Mr. Cooper had received some proposals from a number of vendors. Is that correct?
that is correct. We have a total of three different proposals.
Okay.
Right now, we also have one coming from Lowe's that was kind of late to the party. And that was comparison to this particular contractor, there was a little bit over than what they proposed. So going to bid probably would maybe also drive down the price. But if it is below and you guys agree that we can just move forward, we can have it on the books to move forward.
Okay, so then you guys see one that you like? Yeah.
I did.
The two of you see the same, don't like the same one?
Oh, we didn't discuss that.
Is there a number?
What y'all pick?
I hope,
Let's see what they got.
I hope that we will,
This is the one I like.
Try to get rid of, you said strip, matches the wall where it make the colors.
All right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, get rid of at least for that one little like strip. Match the wall, kind of pull the whole
Yeah.
carpet.
Because I was thinking the one with the strip.
Yeah, darker is better.
Mhm.
Orange
Clean it
strip.
first.
I didn't think about that. The color is up there.
Whatever the wall color is, then the color that you post that in the rug, that'll kind of complement one another. And as well with the wood. Just about fun. Boy, I say, don't design. No. That's my two cents.
This is so happening, but I'll pick one. Because I remember picking the same one, and we was putting nowhere, it's the same room.
We have to come to order, because we still got more work up here to do in terms of our agenda. I thought we may have the same, pretty much the idea of what we're gonna have to go through. So, okay, Mr. Lattimore, we'll continue on with the,
in seeking out the contractors to do the work here, I'm asking whoever is doing it to ask, do they have minorities or do they hire minorities? I don't want to continue to have people coming into our city and talking about it, this, that, and the other. I want to see people have minority contractors working with them. I want to see people of color.
So there's, probably would like to know that the contractor that provides us with that bid is a minority business owner.
Does they have any people of color in this?
Yes.
Because they usually say minority.
Yes, Mr. O'Malley, yes.
So moving forward, we have a project schedule in Milestone. If we can pass some resolutions today, that will be milestone number 1 in all of these projects. I just wanted to note, we kind of talked about it earlier. Note number 1, the director may enter into any contract to purchase supplies or materials or provide labor for any work in the amount not to exceed $12,000. That's the board bylaw, page 36. Also note, Ohio Revised Code, contracts over $50,000 do require the bidding procedure. So my recommendations to the board of trustees today will be to pass a resolution for the carpet and roof, which will be in the Buildings and Grounds report. If we have 2 resolutions, that resolution will be 0302-2021. That's Covertine Contracting Incorporation, square feet of carpet, including removal and miscellaneous, totaling 49,446. And also for us, Covertine Contracting is a minority Black company. And resolution 030321, Doherty Construction for Roof Replacement, totaling $36,000. There will also be a resolution in Buildings and Grounds on the agenda. So that concludes the director's report. I want to thank Ms. Flood and Mr. Cooper for their hard work in managing all of these projects that we have, in addition to us managing the day-to-day operations of the library.
yes, sir.
If there is no questions, I move that we accept the director's report.
I second it.
It's been motion with second. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Chairman, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
5 yeses.
5 yeses, the director's report has been accepted. Next item on our agenda is the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Copfield.
Thank you, Mr. Rashid. I'm presenting my report verbally as opposed to written this month. I'm summarizing just a couple of quick things, and I do have a couple of other points I wanted to bring up. But in terms of our reconciled cash balances through February, our accounts are reconciled through February, and we have cash balances totaling $1,482,541.98. We had a finance committee report for 2 months. Our budgeted benchmark would be 16.5%, which would represent 1/6 of the year, and this would be through February. Our total expenditures through the month of February are 16%. So we are operating roughly 0.5% under budget for 2 months. Our revenues are in good shape. Our expenditures are in line, and just to quickly summarize, the library is in very good financial position. I do also want to point out that and just as kind of as a kind of move on March 10th, I attended or sat in on a webinar for Sunshine Law training and the Ohio Public Records Act. I had indicated to Mr. Silvera that I thought the training was excellent. It was one of those kinds of webinars where, quite honestly, I could have just signed into the webinar and walked away from the computer and then come back 2 hours later. But the information was so interesting, quite honestly, that I sat in for the entire 2 hours, took notes, and recommending to the board that I believe everybody should sit in on the Sunshine Law training. I think it's just that beneficial. One of the things that came out of the training was the fact that we need to update our records retention policy. Because if we don't, quite frankly, if we have old records lying around and someone makes a record request, we're obligated to supply them any and everything that we have in relation to that particular request. So it's necessary that we keep only those records that we feel are pertinent to the operation of the library, only those records that are obviously required by law for us to maintain, and anything else needs to be disposed of on a regular basis. So I had mentioned to Mr. Silvera that we get our policy updated. Mr. Latimer has agreed to help me put that together, and we intend to come back to the board in the next month with an updated record retention policy that can hopefully be approved. The second thing is that, and this is somewhat minor, but the second thing is that we did receive an upgrade to our accounting system computer. The state auditor has supplied us with a new machine replacing the old one. The old one belongs to us. So next month, I'm going to have a resolution to go before the board, basically accepting the donation from the state auditor's office of a computer that we can put into service anywhere we choose. So that basically completes my fiscal officer report. Are there any questions? I had let me also say that I had about a week and a half ago, I had submitted all the financial reports to the board for your review. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Chairman, I asked a motion to approve the fiscal officer's verbal report.
We could do it in I could do it in the discussion part. Okay, I heard there's a motion on the floor to approve the fiscal officer report, seconded by Mr. Mays. Is there any further discussion? Hearing now, Mr. Sherman, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera.
Yes.
I have 5 yeses.
This is fiscal officer's report. It's been approved. Next item on the agenda is committee updates, and the first committee is the finance committee report.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee has a resolution to submit to the full board for vote. Resolution to accept the tax budget. Members of the East Cleveland Public Library Finance Committee have met, discussed, and reviewed the following items on March 11th, 2021. Resolution number 0301-2021 to accept the tax budget. Whereas the Ohio Revised Code, section 5705.28 requires that the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees submit its tax budget to the board of the East Cleveland School District on before May 31st, 2021. Now therefore be resolved that the following tax budget indicating the income needed by the East Cleveland Public Library for the year 2022 is $2,252,389, of which approximately $1,312,603 will be received from the Public Library Fund of the state of Ohio. Be submitted to the East Cleveland School Board for submission to the County of Cuyahoga on before July 20, 2021. Attached to the back of this is the actual statement of fund activity, and I move for its adoption.
So moved, and a second. Mr. Mayor, did you second that?
Yes.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
and 5 yes.
The resolution passes.
That concludes the Finance Committee.
I just wanted to make one more statement too. In the documents that Mr. Hockfield had referenced that he had prepared us with, just for your reading, there's a letter in here by Kevin L. Finn, Inc., certified public accountants. Right. And the title of this document is Independent Accountant Report on Applying Agreed Upon Procedures. And if you have any questions regarding how we measure up to the expectations from the auditors, this will be a good read for you. Next item on the agenda, we got buildings and grounds.
Personnel Committee.
Oh, Personnel Committee.
Oh, you're right, Personnel Committee Chairperson.
Oh, it's personnel? Oh, it's me. Okay. Mr. Chairman, the personnel committee met, had a meeting March 11, 2021 at 2:00 p.m. It has been reported that there are no retirements. We have one promotion. Ms. Cook, who is in distribution, have moved to the reference desk. Remember, Ms. Brown was replaced by Ms. Guy. Okay, and Ms. Guy had been replaced by Ms. Cook. Ms. Cook is now considered a library associate, thus her pay scale has moved from $15.81 to $20.69 an hour. The pay raise is already approved. We still have 30 employees working in the library. We have the COVID-19 updates. We now are in phase 2B, which means that age 50 and up are qualified to get the vaccine. We have an all-staff meeting March 24th. Jackie Adams is to talk to the staff and provide answers to any questions or concerns they have about the virus or the shots. All libraries in the state of Ohio will receive 500 self-administered kits, which is here, that will determine if a person is positive or negative with the virus. Patients can get the results in 15 minutes. Instructions are included with the kit. So here's the kit, and a mask is included. Administrative evaluations are still in process. They should be completed by April. Okay, the director is putting together a workshop to improve morality in the library. Circulation associates and pages will be together. Training will be online. Last but not least, we have insurance, life insurance here at the Library Exchange for employees, and Mr. Cocker can explain that better than I. I want to make sure I don't make any mistakes with that. So you said it's long-term insurance policy has changed and based on age, correct?
Yes. We were informed that anyone over 65, well, let me back up. The library provides $25,000 or provides life insurance for all full-time staff. That includes hourly as well as salaried staff. We were informed that as of now, the library can only provide $12,500 worth of insurance for anyone over 65, and it happens to affect one person on our staff. So that adjustment has been made. It happens to be me. So anyway, we made the change.
But I mean, they just arbitrarily sent this to us one day.
I'm sorry?
So they just arbitrarily sent this change to us one day.
Yeah, I mean, they apparently revised the policies. We had submitted, well, actually, we had submitted an update to our staff roster. This is something that we do on an annual basis. So we submitted the update. They in turn came back, they came back letting us know that only people or only staff members 65 and below are entitled to the $25,000 life insurance policy. It's term life held by Medical Mutual. It costs the library $53 a month to provide the insurance. And then they let me know that because I'm older than I'm supposed to be, I guess, I have to. My insurance drops from 25,000 to 12,500.
So we still pay the same premium?
No, we'll be paying slightly less. Slightly less because.
But not as much as they cut the premium.
No, they didn't. No,
they cut the payment.
Yeah, they're going to cut the payment, or the payment will be slightly less instead of it being $53 and some change. I haven't submitted the insurance payment for the month of March yet, but it'll be calculated on the new volume. Volume being 25,000 times, I think it's 14 staff members. 14 staff members at $25,000, and then myself at $12,500.
So they cut the value of the policy in half, but they only slightly decreased the payment.
Yes.
So how do we get them or give ourselves the opportunity to look for somebody else? Because that's a slap in the face.
Well, it's something that they've offered. The consortium that we belong to, the Stark County Consortium, of which we're a member, has just provided that as I don't want to say as an add-on, but we get excellent rates. We get excellent health insurance rates as well as dental and vision rates from them. And then at the time we bought into the insurance program, they indicated that they have a life insurance program that we were able to participate in, and that's what it is. Now, certainly we can certainly shop around.
I mean, you think it's worth the effort because you actually have to be the one to put in the work. So if
personally, I don't think it's really worth the effort.
Okay, because it just seems like, I mean, they charge the same rate, gonna give you half the benefit, and as long as they don't really perceive themselves as having a risk due to age. But I'm just, this is.
And I'd be more than happy to let you know.
That's insurance companies, that's how they operate.
And that's because in this country, we don't pass laws to protect people, we pass laws to protect their profits. And that's a problem. But anyway, you know, we're not gonna solve that problem here today, but I just resent the fact that they're able to just arbitrarily one day say, you have half the coverage, but we're gonna charge you the same rate.
Well, I can let you know what the premium has dropped to based on them providing me half of what it used to be. So
right,
I'm sure it's going to be minimal, but
let me ask a question, and I hope we don't move on to time. Yes. Are you satisfied with that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And, I want to look at the package here. They have to download certain things in order to, are they tracking the people that's taking this?
It's up to the individual if they want to self-report or not.
Oh, okay, so it's that choice whether or not you self-report, because when I saw about download, I said to myself, that might be trying to track what you're doing, you know, the numbers.
We know most of our patrons probably not going to self-report. However, it does give them access to a kit to get answers they need to know.
Can you buy these?
I'm not sure if they're over the counter. Are they for sale? No.
Mr. Chairman, I just looked at the agenda.
Oh, I don't know.
let her finish.
That's interesting. I've never seen it anywhere to buy. I know, I would, if I saw some, I would have bought it and taken it home by now, yeah, for sure.
Is there anything?
Time I saw new people. Okay, any other questions or comments anybody wants to make? Okay, this completes the personnel committee report.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Buildings and Grounds Committee update. Mr. Mays.
I'm not going to give a report. I think it has been done very well today. We saw slides and we had you hear in reference to the marquee. Those are some of the things that which we discussed in our committee report. And so I don't wish to dither over that. It has been well presented. And so I'm going to move on to the resolutions. That there are two resolutions that Buildings and Grounds have here. And the first one is a resolution to approve the roof replacement. Members of the East Cleveland Public Library Buildings and Grounds Committee have met, discussed, and reviewed the following items on March the 11th, 2021. A resolution number 03. I'm reading the wrong one. I'll just go ahead with this one since I was reading, but I'm not in order. Okay, resolution number 03/03/2021. A resolution to replace the roof over the rear section of the library. Whereas the East Cleveland Public Library is elected to improve its facility, and whereas the board has approved appropriation to make facelift improvement. Now therefore be it resolved that the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees approved the contract to Dorfin Construction, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $36,000. See attachment proposal to remove and install the rear roof and small extensions with cheapest. I'll ask for adoption of resolution 03/03/2021.
Okay, it's been motioned and second. I have discussion.
Has it been second? Yeah. Oh,
Mr. Severi, seconded.
well, I'm glad you do it because let me go first. I need to point out something. Okay. Well, you go ahead and I'll go after you because I need something.
Okay, I just had a question because in the document that I see roof replacement proposal, work order job or work order 6958 address 14101 Euclid Avenue, which is the library. In the first paragraph here, it has bullet points going down to 20-year warranty on materials and labor by Firestone. What is Firestone? Is Firestone a company that works for Dollery? Because I would expect for this 20-year warranty on materials and labor by Firestone. So what does that mean?
I will to
Firestone is the company that makes the material, which is a EPDM 60 mil, which is the rubber material that goes over the roof decking. And that is the company that Garfield Construction uses for their material and their supply chain.
Okay, so this warranty that we're supposed to get for 20 years, is it spelled out anywhere? Because it says a 20-year warranty and the warranty itself. So have these been looked at by our council, these contracts?
Yes, part of the proposal is a conversation, thanks to you for Buildings and Grounds. Forwarded from Mr. Cockfield to our legal counsel, which is not Mr. Kukowski. He is no longer our rep. So, Mr. Confield, did you want to share the two-way communications?
Yeah, I had reached out to Brian to review the contract as Mr. Rashid had requested, and found out that he was no longer with the prosecutor's office. I in turn resent the message to, I think her name is Lisa. Anyway, the request was passed on to a gentleman by the name of Mark Munson, or Musson, I'm sorry, Mark Musson, who reviewed the contract, made penciled revisions, and submitted it back to me. And this is what he submitted, or he indicated that, let's see.
I see in this email that
Yes.
excuse me for interrupting, but I do see it says, okay, here's my suggestions included in the attached. And I just want to follow up to make sure that we follow his direction to do that.
Yes, we did.
Okay, well, I have no need for any further discussions if we've done that.
I have some discussion on here. I'm glad you pointed that out because I was going to raise that, so I won't go there. On page 1, Mr. Mark, what's in it says at the top of the page, number 2, remove the additional information stated they can change prices without notice. I have a problem with that.
Will you see that?
On page 1, at the top of the page, number 2, it's writing, okay, here are my suggestions included in the attached sheet. Require them to get your approval before releasing any contract, rotten deck material under the extra work clause. Number 2, here's where the problem comes. Removing the additional information stated they can change prices without notice.
But this is the stuff I just
Anytime
said.
that you enter into a contract and they can't change the prices, they have to come back before this board or what have you to change the contract.
But excuse me, Mr. Mayor, this is what I just asked Carlos if they followed up on what the attorney suggested. He said, yes,
Correct.
we did it.
And, well, I don't know whether he's seen that or whether that's what he.
This was.
And he is to respond.
Yes,
That's crossed out and dated, so they can't change prices.
That's what I was just asking, if they did what the attorney suggested for us to do, and he said, yes.
And, okay.
And it's these
That is
3
the
items.
case, and that's what you're saying, and I certainly echo the fact that if they find rotten deck or wood or whatever up there, and they want to hike the price, whatever, and they have checked the road, you have to come back to renegotiate the contract. They can't hike the price without coming back to you. Because that has happened before, and I can speak from experience. And, so anyway, I just wanted to point that out. So,
Okay,
is there any further questions?
now the resolution has been brought to the floor, and there's a second. Is there any further discussion?
The way I read it, I'm just reading it, that they're removing that clause out there saying that they can increase it, so they took it out, and then they removed it out there, saying they do it, so.
Yes.
The other
Yes,
part.
correctly saying yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The other part I have with this daughter's contract, all of this eradication or blanks out, that doesn't speak well for them, giving you documents and what they did initially. I assume that's the initial and dated the time they did that. That's the second page of on the front page. You look at all that stuff. And then on the third page, the same thing. happened, all these false out. And
I think that's where our attorney reviewed it and made the recommendation for those.
And they removed. Yeah.
And they initially by acknowledging they agree with that. They accepted that.
Oh, and that's what, okay, I thought it was coming from the people whom we did it.
Am I correct?
You are correct. Yes, sir.
All right, if that's the case, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready for the vote. Call for the vote.
No further discussion. Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
and 5 yeses.
5 yeses, the resolution passed. Next item is you have the
Another
second phase.
resolution, yes, sir. Next resolution, a resolution to approve carpet installation in the main library. Sorry, that's put my eyes on that and see. Members of the East Cleveland Public Library Buildings and Grounds Committee have met, discussed, and reviewed the following items on March 11, 2021. Resolution number 0302, 2021. A resolution to approve carpet installation in main building. Whereas the East Cleveland Public Library is elected to improve the facility space, and whereas the board has approved appropriation to make specific facelift improvement. Now therefore, be it resolved by the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees approve the contract Coven Contract Inc. for an amount not to exceed $49,446 for the purpose of supplies and laying carpet in the main library. See attached proposals. Attached to it. And Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 0302, 2021.
I second.
It's been motioned and second. Any discussion? I have a question just for clarity. Coven Contracting Incorporated on Marshall Road in Mayfield Heights. We've already, so this is I guess this is the outcome of several companies coming in to bid for us?
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion required? Anybody, you got any more discussion?
No, I was asking, did you get an answer to your question?
Yes, he said that yes, there were bids submitted to us. Quotes.
So is this the one that we are choosing?
I'm sorry?
Is this the one we're going with?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
and 5 yeses.
5 yeses, the motion, the resolution passed. Mr. Cooper, you're going to be overseeing this installation, I'm sure.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add this to the resolution, I have no problem with the resolution. I see that they did do as we had asked to do in reference to the date of being signed, etc. But where my problem lies, still lie at the beginning of the preamble of the resolution should indicate a sponsor, not, the building does not sponsor anything, nor does the committee. Those are adjectives describing them. Who sponsor resolution is a board member. the name that, because none of us named building, nor any of us named committee. That should be here, sponsored by a particular name. We all have names, and our name is not building and grounds. Our name is not committee. From the buildings and grounds, sponsored by whomever, whether it's Mr. Rashid or whether it's Omaze, or co-sponsored by sponsored by Mr. Rashid and co-sponsored by Mr. Omaze. That's what should be here on this resolution. That's the only thing I find wrong with the resolution, because you have corrected the other things in which I've asked to be corrected, and they are here, and I give you credit for that. But that is the sticker, because we work, anybody look at this, they'll say, buildings and grounds, who sponsored this piece of legislation?
Buildings and ground.
Buildings and ground didn't sponsor it, a human being sponsored it, which is a person. It's sponsored by a person, and buildings and ground can't talk.
Mr. Ray, do you remember when Dr. Harris had this conversation before, and she said of other library systems, the way we do is the norm?
No,
It's acceptable, that's what she said, remember, and she's a librarian.
I'm cognizant of her position, but at the same time, I don't know any library, anywhere you go, anywhere you, any business, this is a business institution, it's not a pop and mom situation. It has a sponsor. A person sponsors all resolution. Go to the board, East Cleveland Board. They have sponsors of their resolution.
Well, you know,
They have names.
What we can do, you can show us in writing, that the library should have a sponsor in writing, rather than what other people are doing, then perhaps we can change.
Yeah, you're supposed to have, you're supposed to sponsor a resolution or ordinance, whatever you want to call it, all has sponsors.
Is there any further discussion? But did we voted on
Right,
this?
we've discussed this.
Okay.
I would recommend the board pass a policy around the writing of resolutions. We would support whatever the board supports. We follow the norm. We follow the best practices around resolutions.
And that's what I thought this was the way that we always did it. But anyway, let's just move on, because in the interest of time, the next item on our agenda is the library service. Does that conclude the buildings and grounds report, sir? I'm sorry.
Yes, that completes the building and ground.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, Library Services Committee update.
I can give an update. Ms. Brown, you okay?
Yes.
Okay. Black History Month, February, we had a great response from the community. Our partnership with Karamu, we saw an increase in traffic on our website because of the play. We had 4 individuals come pick up the televisions that we raffled off.
Oh, somebody won.
Yeah, so they was very exciting, and we had community members outside of East Cleveland participate as well. February youth statistics, we saw an increase in the number of patrons in all areas that are coming back into the library. So that's great moving forward. Also, new business, April 1st, we plan to restore all of our computer services. We're gonna open up meeting rooms for the community, notary, and passport. So the only space that will not be open is the children's room. Right now, the classrooms are using the teen center. We plan on opening the children's room maybe June 1st, when the summer starts, hopefully. Also, the East Cleveland School District is creating a new parent empowerment center over at the Old Chambers Elementary School. They invited East Cleveland Public Library to be a partner as far as us providing outreach services. They're waiting to hire a coordinator, so we're waiting for more details around that. We're excited about taking some of our resources and services over to that space over at Chambers when it becomes a reality.
Okay.
So that concludes Library Services Committee.
Thank you very much. Is there any further questions or discussion about it? Next item on the agenda would be the ad hoc committee update. Mr. Severa, I think you're chairperson.
No, there is no update at this point. Communication went out under your signature to the city, and we're still waiting on a response back. I guess once we get a response back, and then we'll convene a meeting just to see how we will go from that point forward.
My only question is, what date did it go out, and what date are we going to set to take action if we don't hear back from the city, which I anticipate will be the
You got
case?
the date on that letter was out? Mr. Lau?
I don't have the date.
I think I have the letter. Read the agenda, the 10th, okay. So.
It went out on the 10th of March,
Yeah.
and we're giving the city until what date to, well, I mean, just internally, I think we should have a date.
We'll give them 30 days,
Okay,
and then we'll make one more follow-up, and then we'll proceed with having a meeting, and we'll decide how we'll go from there.
okay, thank you very much. Any further? Does that conclude your ad hoc committee?
That concludes my report.
The next item on the agenda is new business. Is there anything I wanted to introduce an idea to the board, and maybe this should be the spot to do it. And I wanted to ask the director and his team that, is there a designated area in the library or area that could be designated for board members if they wanted to come in and like read up paperwork, or just want to have some private space someplace that you could designate for us as a place, and maybe, I don't even know if we necessarily need a file cabinet in there, or just one drawer piece or something of that nature? Would it be something that you can consider and toss around and see if we could work something out like that?
We have the North Conference Room that we could make available and not schedule anything maybe on weekends or after certain hours. Yeah, we have space.
Okay, that's what, I don't want this to seem as if though it's an office for us to sit up here, and interfere with the daily activities of the library. But if we do have documents that we need to read or want to review, there's a private place that we can just walk in and sit down undisturbed and out of the way of your team, and just have a place to just review our documents and stuff, even prior to these meetings, either right after these meetings, if we're not here to closing or something like that.
Okay, yeah, we can work with you on that.
Yeah, just as long as we just keep it under a certain level, and then people at the same time when they come to meeting.
Right. That's sunshine law. Okay, that was the only thing. That was the only thing that I had. Is anything else?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Private discussion already, Mr. Turner, in terms of minutes coming out soon, so he and I are talking about it.
Okay, that's fine. Any old businesses? Next item on the agenda? Hearing no old audience participation. Mr. Turner.
As of now, no audience participation.
Okay. Well, at this point, then the next item on the agenda is that motion for an adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that you join the meeting.
I second.
We got 3 seconds.
3:30. 3:29.
429.
I mean, 4:20, I'm sorry. Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded. Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Bedtime.
Mr. Rashid?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Day?
Yay.
Mr. Ahid?
Yes.
Mr. Herbert?
Yes.
Mr. Silvera?
Yes.
Obvious.
This concludes the Saturday, March 20, 2021 meeting of the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for those online. Thank you very much for attending. Oh, thank you.
This was a monumental meeting.
Are we no longer on air?
Now, I wouldn't trust it until I see that green light go out.
Oh.